Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So we heard from both coordinators today, and we'll talk more about what was said by each coordinator a little bit later on in the show as we get to in other news. But as we start this show, we got a couple of co-lead stories. The first of which, Joe Witt Jr., I know a lot of you don't want to hear from this man right now. He's become vastly public enemy number one, and the punching bag for this team's demise early in this young season. Some of it rightfully so, some of it not so much, but it doesn't matter. In the fans' eye, it doesn't matter. This defense stinks. They're a huge part of the reason why this team is 3-4 right now. There's no argument about that. It's part of the reason, probably the biggest reason. I think injuries should top the list, and you take 3 or 4 steps before you get to the next item. But whatever the case may be, the reason why a lot of fans aren't optimistic about any kind of turnaround this season is because of this defense. You look at this defense and you're like, it doesn't matter how good this offense is. This defense is going to undo everything systematically that this offense does. You saw this offense fight tooth and nail on the road, undermanned against the Cowboys, score a touchdown. The defense undoes that goodwill in less than 40 seconds and 7 yards or something of that sort in just 3 plays, right? It doesn't take much for this defense to undo the goodwill of the offense, right? So I get it. We've talked about what can they do to change the fortunes of this defense. I don't know if there's anything they can do, honestly speaking, but there are some things that need to be done regardless, irregardless of the fact that we may not see this team produce turnovers. We may not see this team be able to limit the amount of big plays, but there are some things you can try in the interim to see if they work. Like, you can't keep banging your head up against a brick wall and saying, hey, you know, we want different results, but you keep trying the same damn things, which is why DQ has inserted himself into this defensive situation. We talked about that yesterday. Well, defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. today kind of echoed some of the sentiments of DQ. DQ, you know, he's a little bit vague. He doesn't really give you a ton. He's really good in that way. Joe Witt, a lot more straightforward and direct. The coordinators are allowed to be that way, right? The head coach has to be the one that kind of sets the tone, doesn't say too much, which is what DQ does beautifully. But his 2 coordinators, they have no problems getting right to the shits. If they think that this isn't a problem, they'll say it. If they think that this player hasn't done enough, they'll find a way to say it without directly attacking the player, but they'll let you know, hey, this player hasn't been on the field. This is why we're struggling. That's what Cliff has done with Terry and some of the other guys that haven't been on the field, Brandon Coleman, most notably. And Joe Witt Jr. has been very vocal. He'll tell you who is playing well, and by omission, you know who isn't necessarily playing their best. That said, he finally came to grips with the fact that this is the same man that told us, I don't see any difference defensively from a speed perspective. I don't think we've been, outclassed in speed. What? Are you kidding me? So he finally acknowledged that we got to get more speed on the field. That's not him talking. That's Dan Quinn talking. Okay. Dan Quinn got in there and said, all right, I got to come in here and insert myself into this situation because clearly you aren't going to do it on your own. So now all of a sudden his tune has changed. We got to get faster on defense. He just said a week ago, I don't see any difference between the teams we played offensively and our team's speed defensively. Bullshit. But now he has finally come around. DQ made him. And he has said there will be defensive personnel changes. And quote, you'll see them this week. Close quote. That was essentially how he ended his press conference. Now, right before saying that, he talked about the linebacker group as a whole. We'll talk about that at greater detail, but just to kind of, let you into where we're heading here. He talked about Jordan McGee playing well and needing more snaps. Would you look at that? The thing that we've been saying for the last month and a half, he finally comes to grips with and has this epiphany. Well, Jordan McGee actually played well. You don't say. You don't say. So we got to get him on the field more. Oh, really? Wow. Good job. This is why you get paid the big bucks, right? Then he does something that, I'll be honest with you, I didn't see coming. And I'm all in favor of this. I'm on board. Maybe we'll see even more changes. I don't think they're going to go the Marshawn Lattimore route just yet, but I do think that is coming eventually. If he struggles on Monday night, which I have no reason to think he won't struggle on Monday night, I got to think that he's on a much shorter lease and they're going to be willing to maybe go to Jonathan Jones. I don't think they want to put Mikey outside. I don't think that's something that they want to do. They drafted Mikey to be a nickel. You can't keep moving him around. If you don't think outside is his natural spot where he's going to live in this league, because again, after this season is done, you got to go get you another starting corner. Trey Amos is it on the other side. You know you got you one over there. You got to find one. Mikey isn't it outside. So why keep putting him out there? They're going to do everything they can to avoid sticking Mikey out there if they can, because Mikey needs reps inside. If he's going to be better inside, you only get better inside by playing inside, right? So I think Jonathan Jones can get an opportunity. I think he's up next if this Marshawn Lattimore thing crashes completely out. But he said of the linebackers, we want to get Jordan McGee on the field, and that also goes for Kane Medrano. Who? Kane Medrano. Who? Kane Medrano. Oh, yeah, you remember the 6th-round pick out of UCLA. Kane Medrano? The linebacker? Oh, yeah, that guy. The one that was one of the fastest linebackers at the NFL Scouting Combine. You don't say. So you think he might make this defense faster? I'm not telling you he's going to make it better. Not saying he's going to make it better. But we all see the liability that is Bobby Wagner in coverage. You don't think a guy that you drafted to be a coverage linebacker shouldn't get an opportunity? Look, he's going to make mistakes. This defense is getting cooked. What difference does it make? Let the young fella play. We got to find out if he can actually do it or not. DQ stepped in and said, hey, you got to play the youngins, bruh. We know you like veterans. Oh, we know. You love the vets because they're safe. You like the safe guys. Well, the safe guys are getting their asses whooped. Let's try the youngins for a change. They might make mistakes. They may bite on play action fake. They may be out of position. But guess what? The veterans are getting out of position and getting cooked and getting worked over on a weekly basis. The rookies can't be any worse. The rookies can't be any worse. The young fellas, the puppies can't be any worse. Let's see them. That was the rallying cry after the ass whooping against Dallas. Let's just see, right? Let's see Kane Medrano. Let's see Jordan McGee. If this Marshawn Lattimore thing can't get any better, let's see the veteran Jonathan Jones. Let's see something different. I'm all in favor of different at this point because the same hasn't worked. DQ has stepped in. Changes are being made. I don't know if they're going to work. DQ said you'll see a difference. I don't know about that. Joe Witt Jr. said something similar. We'll talk about that. I don't know about all of that. I don't know if we'll see a difference. I just know we want to see different. There's a difference, right? A difference means there's actually a result being had that changes from the one that was previously had. I don't know if we'll see that. I just want different. Something that doesn't look like what we've seen previous 7 weeks. That means different personnel on the field. We may get the same result. Well, at least it's with guys that we're trying to figure out, can they or can't they? This is music to my ears. Look, I don't know if you want to throw these guys out there against Mahomes for their first start, or in the case of Medrano and McGee for their first real action. McGee's played this season. He's gotten some real work. He played against Dallas last week, played well. Played, 2 weeks ago against the Chargers, played well. Missed some tackles, obviously, but he played well. He's downhill. He was in the backfield. I'm excited about this. And if they do anything else, sign me up. But to hear that Kane Medrano and Jordan McGee are going to get some real run, which is something that we've talked about. Like, why can't you find a way? The best coordinators find ways to get guys on the field. You don't make excuses. You just find a way. DQ must have been tired of the excuses as well. Figure it out. Let's get these guys on the field. God bless Dan Quinn. Now let's see if he can bless this defense and help them turn some shit around. The other co-lead story is Terry McLaurin. We wondered if this was a mirage. Were our eyes deceiving us, or was he actually on the practice field 2 days in a row? No, that's no mirage. That's actually Scary Terry. Just in time for Halloween. He's back. He held his first official media scrum since his injury, which is also a good sign. And at that media scrum, he said, quote, "I feel like myself again," close quote, and that he was ready to rock and roll on Monday night versus the Chiefs. That's all we needed to hear. Sign us up for Terry McLaurin. Debo also had a media scrum yesterday in which he said that, you know, the nagging heel, they made a decision collectively as a group, him and the team, that he just needed a week to give it some time to rest and calm down. They did that. He's back. So both of these guys are back. It would have been so nice to have Jaden back with them. But you know what? Let these guys get in a little bit of rhythm, and Jaden will join them eventually, and we can get this thing going the way that we need to, and we can start making some real noise once the full party is back. So McLaurin is back in the saddle along with Debo. We got ourselves a fighting chance. I still don't think we're going to win the game, but at least we're going to go in with a gun with actual real bullets, not those rubber shits, right? We ain't trying to stun nobody. We trying to kill somebody. We got a gun with actual real live bullets. Not them plastic shits, not those rubber shits that we had in the gun loaded against the Cowboys last week. Real bullets. Now let's go hunting. Let's go hunting. I don't know if we're going to catch anything. But hey, why the hell not? Right? We got guns and shit. See if we can use them. Now, let's transition to in other news. We heard from said coordinators, both Cliff Kingsbury and Joe Witt Jr. We'll talk about what was said by both of them. But before we do that, let's get to the injury report for both teams for Friday's practice. And so we start with the good guys. Nothing really here that jumps off the screen at you other than Daron Payne and his toe. Do we need to be concerned about this? Not sure. That's 2 days in a row. I'm always alarmed when guys don't practice on the second day of the work week. The first day is really inconsequential for me. You give a guy an extra day off, it's going to be that first day of the work week. Not practicing on the second day of the work week, however, is alarming. So now I'm looking at Daron Payne and I'm saying, are you okay? You're scaring me right now. Please stop. Cosme was scaring me yesterday. He's a full participant today. I can exhale. Okay, we're good. Everybody else, full participants, Terry, Debo, Bobby. So we're good there. Colson Yankoff just showed up on the injury report with a hamstring, something to keep an eye on. We know Jaden isn't going to play. He's not practicing this week. He's ramping up in his rehab, as we were told by DQ yesterday, that he will ramp up in his pursuit to be ready for next week. We'll see if he can get back to where they feel comfortable with him from a hamstring standpoint next week. But Daron Payne is the one concern on this injury report. We're already at a disadvantage defensively. We can't afford one of the guys that has actually played well this season to be banged up. We need Daron Payne out there on Monday night. So we'll keep a very, very watchful eye on his status coming up. Yesterday, I said that this injury report for the Chiefs, the ops, was non-threatening. I changed my tune slightly today. So as you can see, much of it is the same. Most of the guys are going to play. You see FPs pretty much all the way down after the first three names, meaning full practice. Those guys are going to play. Never was a doubt that Xavier Worthy or Brashard Smith or Jawan Taylor, these are all starters. or in the case of Brashard Smith, he's not a starter, but a guy that they rely on very heavily. These are all guys that I expected them to be out there. But Josh Simmons, already told you he's not going to play. I don't know what's going on in his situation, but he's been away from the team for quite a while now, at least 2 weeks. He's not going to play in this game, so he's going to be out. That's their starting left tackle. But they've circumvented that issue already, right? And then Kareem Hunt, limited today. He's going to play, right? I was going to keep my eye on him in case he couldn't go. He doesn't scare me. He's physical, though. He's physical, but he doesn't scare me. I'm more concerned with Isaiah Pacheco, honestly speaking. But look, if you can't stop the run, it doesn't matter who the hell's running the rock. You're going to get gashed if you can't stop it. We got to be better. But Kareem Hunt doesn't scare me. So, but here's the name that does intrigue me. Antennas went up. Trey Smith didn't practice yesterday. I'm like, Cosme had a back yesterday and didn't practice. I'm like, come talk to me tomorrow if it's serious. Well, he didn't practice again today. And I'm like, you don't say. Interesting. If there's one thing that can help this team, and again, we need Daron Payne to fully take advantage of this, is a team with a compromised offensive line. We've seen what this team has done to teams that have had compromised offensive lines. Week 1, Giants. Week 3, Raiders. Week 5, Chargers. If we can get a compromised offensive line, hell, even last week against Dallas, I thought the defensive line was good from a pass rush standpoint. They did not play well stopping the run. However, if you get a compromised offensive line in front of you, this team has done a really good job. Now, granted, there's no Dorrance this time around, right? You're now even more compromised on your front than you were in those games where you were able to take advantage of compromised offensive lines. But this group has done a really good job, specifically on the interior, of dominating compromised offensive lines. You could see a Chiefs offensive line featuring both its left guard and tackle out of this football game. Left guard or left tackle and right guard out of this football game. So something to keep an eye on. We'll see if Trey Smith can't go. And if he can't, hey, how about that? So we need Daron Payne to play if you really want to take advantage of this. But we've got our eye on Trey Smith. That extra day should help him. I'm not ruling him out. But 2 days straight of no practice is concerning, just like I'm concerned about Daron Payne and that toe. It is concerning. That is for sure. All right, so let's get to what was said on Coordinator Friday. We heard from both coordinators today. We'll start with Joe Witt Jr. The theme of his press conference today was playing fast. That was the theme of his presser today. He made mention of playing faster at least 6 to 7 times. It's a continuation of what DQ has harped on all week. DQ harped on playing faster on Monday. DQ harped on playing faster, or I think it was it Monday or Tuesday that DQ spoke to the media? I think it was Monday. DQ harped on playing faster on Thursday, and then Joe Witt harped on it again today. Playing fast is the thing that they feel like this defense isn't doing, which is why they're not creating turnovers, which is why they're not arriving violently, right? In a violent manner, which is why they're not running and hitting. So he started off his press conference by talking about the poorest showing versus Dallas. He said, we're paring down the defense and we're going to simplify things. We're removing layers from this defense. So he gave an example of like a layer, right? So if we're playing this coverage, if they're under center, we're going to play this coverage this way. If they're in the shotgun, we're going to play the same coverage, but we're going to play it a little bit differently this way. Instead of having the change when it's under center versus in the gun, it's just a blanket uniform. This is how we're playing this coverage, no matter what they do. Well, no matter what the formation is, no matter if he's under center or in the gun, this is how we're playing this coverage. You don't have to think about the changes that have to take place in the center or under center versus in the gun. Just play the coverage the way it is. That should free them up to play faster. That kind of thing. Removing layers is what he talked about. Then he gave a breakdown of the Kansas City Chiefs and all of the things that make them dangerous. I don't need to go through them because you already know all of those things that make the Chiefs ultra dangerous in this upcoming game. He then opened the floor to questions, and the first thing that he was asked about was the layers and removing the layers. And he said, removing these layers, which is what DQ talked about, will pick up the speed on defense. And he said, quote, the ball will come to life. Oh, there we go again. We haven't heard ball is life all season from Joe Witt Jr. or no form of it, right? This is not quite ball is life, but he said, quote, the ball will come to life. It's the first time we've heard ball and life in the same sentence from Joe Witt, because he knows the ball ain't life with this group. He then went on to say, in all my years of coaching, I've never been a part of a group that hasn't been able to take the football away. I can't explain to you how baffled I am at why we can't take it away, but we're going to take it away. And I'm like, Joe, you don't have dogs, bro. Your dogs don't hunt. It's why you don't have takeaways. You don't have guys. Marshawn, like he said against the Cowboys, there were opportunities for picks. He's not wrong. That throw to CeeDee Lamb for the touchdown when they crashed, that should have been picked off. That was a bad throw. It was late. You had two defenders converging on that foot. That should have been, if you had a real secondary with ball hawks, that's an easy interception. That was a bad throw, a poor read, and it was late by Dak Prescott. That's why, like, literally, Marshawn's breaking off, and you got Quan coming underneath, and this thing should have been picked off by one of the two. But because we have the bad news bears in the secondary, instead of them cutting in front of the football and picking it off like a real defensive back would, they crash it. They go behind him, crash into each other, and let him run into the end zone. Mikey should have had a pick on a ball that was forced into tight coverage by Dak Prescott because we got pressure on him, and he didn't catch it. There were opportunities. But again, you don't have dogs that hunt on this defense. So don't be baffled. This is your personnel. This is what you have. Y'all got to go get guys that hunt the football. And you can't be on some Emmanuel Forbes Jr. bullshit where you just disregard everything else and say, yeah, this guy led the nation in turnovers. Let's draft him because we need more turnovers. You actually got to get a football player that fits the DNA profile of what you want to do defensively. And oh, by the way, he does come in with the ability to take the football away. His mindset is to attack the football. I trust that this group will do that when we get to that point. So he said the ball will come to life once they start playing faster on defense. Don't make me laugh. He says he talked about losing all the edges. Losing all these edges, and you could tell like that struck a nerve with him when like he wants to use that as an excuse, but he's a no excuses guy. But he's dying to use that as an excuse because this team is hurting, man. Like, as much as we want to make it out to be that, oh, the defense isn't that hurt. Bull shiggity. Okay, this defense is banged up. May not be as banged up as the offense has been this season, but it's banged up. And he even went a step further by saying, look, I know some of y'all, and we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to where he actually brought it up, but he brought up Will Harris like, y'all, a lot of people don't really understand the loss of Will Harris. But when he was talking about these edge rushers, and you could see he was shaking his head, he was smiling, and he had that little growl on his face like, yeah, this some bullshit. When he was just naming off all the edge rushers, Dietrich and Dorrance now and Javante and you can see his face like with every name like so he had to hit the obligatory. Well, injuries are a thing around the league, and we just got to find a way to overcome them. But in his heart of hearts, he was like, "Them shits hurt, bro," and he basically said, "Them shits hurt." Like, next man up, we got to figure out a way. And he said, we've devised a scheme that will allow us to circumvent these injuries for this particular game. And the next week, we'll have to come up with a new scheme. It won't be the same every week, but we feel like we've got a scheme that will allow us to be effective in this game. Okay, if you say, we'll see. He then talked about the identity of this team, and DQ has stressed that all week long. Identity, identity, identity. He said, run and hit team. We are supposed to be a run and hit team. We haven't been that way because we are playing too slow. That's why we're paring down the defense so we can play faster, so we can run and hit. Okay, you say, we'll see. I'll believe it. You'll believe it. All of us will believe it when we see it. Communication. He talked about communication, and this is when he brought up Will Harris. He said a lot of people, he's like, the communication, we've got some good communicators on this defense. But he said, you know, one of the best communicators was Will Harris. A lot of you don't really talk about Will Harris and don't understand the magnitude of his loss on this defense. He was one of our best communicators defensively. And he said right now the communication isn't good enough. It's good some weeks. It's good on some plays. It's good on some quarters. In some quarters, it's not good consistently enough. We have to be better communicating. We have to be better flying to the football. We have to be better and more consistent on defense. He said we're doing this on defense, right? Which they were doing that the last 2 weeks. It's just been this, right? And the last 3 out of 4 weeks, it's just been this. It's really the Chargers game that has held them up, right? Because if you go back to week 4 in the Falcons game, that's what the defenses really look like. I mean, we could argue that the Bears game, they weren't terrible in that game, but we were up 8 with a chance to put the game away. And they, just like on Sunday against Dallas, they give up a big explosive for a touchdown, or basically explosive for a touchdown. And you can't win that way. You can't win that way. So he talked about Mahomes. We don't have to get into that. We know what Mahomes is. He's the best in the business. I don't know what we're going to do to try to stop him, but good luck. We're going to need it. He then talked about explosives and takeaways. And those are the two things that have hurt us the most. We don't get any takeaways, and we give up probably the most explosives in the league. I dare you to find a team that gives up more explosives than us. And maybe there are teams that do. It just doesn't feel like it. With the games that I watch, I see teams give up explosives every week, but it feels like no one's giving up more or bigger ones than us. Maybe some teams may actually, quantity-wise, have given up more, but you can't tell me that there have been teams that have given up bigger ones. Like we give up the 50, the 60 variety like it's nothing. The 55-yarder down the sideline to DeAndre Swift, the 60 whatever yard that was to CeeDee Lamb, the 40-something yarder to George Pickens, you know, to set them up right before the half. Like we give up the extreme, like there may be teams that give up explosives 27, 25, 29. They're not giving up 40, 55, 65s like we're giving up. 57 to Tucker Kraft up the seam. Like they're not giving that shit up like we are on a routine basis, it feels like. So he then said that he's confident the changes will help to mitigate the explosives and increase the takeaways. We don't believe you. You need more people. Well, we're going to watch. We're going to see if these changes, a change will do you good, do you good. A change will do you good. We're going to be watching. A change will do you good. We watching. We're going to say if this change does them any good. We hope. Fingers are crossed. I'm not holding my breath because I'm not looking to die on Monday night, holding my breath and not being able to breathe. But I'll be watching. Good luck with these so-called changes that you're going to make. We're going to need them against Patrick Mahomes and one of the best offenses in football. He then talked about blitzing, and he said, we blitz the third most in the NFL. And I'm like, you do. Yeah, hey, you want to know why Marshawn Lattimore is getting cooked? Joe Witt told us this last year, and he didn't tell us a lie. They don't protect the corners, in case you haven't seen. A lot of you are like, well, I don't have a safety over the top. They usually don't. The middle of the field is usually closed with this defense. They usually don't have middle of the field open with two safeties over the top and the middle of the field being wide open. They usually have middle of the field closed, which means the corners are on the outside on islands essentially by themselves. That was the case last year. That's the case this year. So he hasn't really changed philosophically. The results are just worse this year. And look, you can't say you need to blitz Joe Witt. He blitzes, and then you get mad when you give up big plays down the field. I'm not upset at him leaving these corners on the island because they got a job to do, right? I'm upset because the blitzes aren't creative. That's my problem. I don't give a shit that you blitz the third most in the NFL. They're not productive blitzes. Who cares if you blitz? If it's the same blitzes that get picked up and they're not creating free runners or they're not creating any confusion, it doesn't matter if you blitz the third most. If the shit is unproductive. Blitzing 5 and just running up the A gap and having the shit picked up doesn't make you this blitz wizard. We're blitzing the third most in the league. Who cares? It's not producing sacks. It's not producing pressure. It's not producing turnovers. I watched Todd Bowles blitz, and you don't know where the shit's coming from. You don't know who's dropping. You don't know if it's a safety, if it's a corner. I watch all these creative defensive coordinators blitz from all over the field, and you do the same shit, but you want to tout that you're the third most blitz-happy team in the NFL. It doesn't matter. Your sim pressures don't work. Your double A-gap blitzes don't work. Half the time you drop one guy, and the one that doesn't blitz isn't making an impact in coverage. The guy that does blitz usually isn't getting home. They're not creative blitzes. You're not confusing the offensive line. That one kind of pissed me off, if you can't tell. Anyway, I digress. He then talked about the linebackers, which, again, music to my ears. Jordan McGee, he said, first of all, Frankie and Bobby have played exceptionally well. He protects his veteran linebackers. He's not going to let anybody talk shit about them, which is fine. We know this is a down year for Frankie, right? Frankie's had his moments, but I don't think he's being utilized the way he was utilized and turned loose last year. And so for maybe what they're asking Frankie to do, he's playing well. But for us, we saw a Tasmanian devil on the field last year that was uncaged. It feels like they put the Tasmanian devil back in the cage this year. I don't like it, but whatever, right? So he protected his two veteran linebackers, but he's like, we need to, and again, he literally answered this question with Dan Quinn standing behind him with some sort of weapon in his back. Because if he had his way, he wouldn't put the youngins on the field. DQ had to come and force his hand here because for the entire season, people have been insinuating, questions have been asked, leading him to, hey, you think you should play Jordan McGee some more? And he's like, it's just, you can't get him on the field. I mean, you got the two guys. These guys are playing really well. Got two veteran linemen. Whatever, dude. Seriously? Get him on the field. Dan Quinn stepped in. All of a sudden, the tune changes. Now Jordan McGee and Kane Madrano are going to see the field. Attaboy, Dan. Way to get in there and say, hey, we got to change some shit up for real. And then he ended his press conference by saying that there will be personnel changes. Quote, you'll see some this week. I think he's really talking about linebackers getting out there, Frankie moving down. I don't think you're going to see Marshawn Lattimore benched, at least not initially. I think if he gets cooked early in the game, I wouldn't be shocked to see Jonathan Jones get out there. Now, I'm not telling you that shit's going to be any better. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. But again, it can't be any worse, right? Because with Lattimore, it's either a penalty or it's a catch. It doesn't feel like it's ever a pass breakup. It's damn sure not an interception. He doesn't have one of those here in a Washington Commanders uniform. So it's either a penalty or it's a catch. That's what it feels like right now. So can't be any worse. Can't be any worse. Anyway, I digress. So then we get to Cliff Kingsbury, his press conference, and he talked about Marcus Mariota's play. And Marcus, he said he's played really well. You know, we're pleased with what he's done for us. He said Marcus would like to have one throwback from the game. I'm like, yeah, Cliff, he'd like to have more than one throwback. He had a pick six. That's probably the one he was talking about. I think he would like the 4th and 1 throw to Luke McCaffrey, who's wide ass open, possibly for a touchdown that he missed. I think he would like to have more than one throwback, Cliff, but I get what you're saying. Okay. You like Marcus. Cool. Then he talked about rush attempts. So we're middle of the pack in the league with our rush attempts, i.e. we don't run it enough. Cliff is the master at getting away from the run when it's working. And he was basically asked about getting back to the run. It hasn't been working these past 2 weeks. So in his defense, there's no reason to bang your head up against a brick wall. I think they haven't done a great job of utilizing different ways to get to the run. It just feels like we've been just trying to run at teams, and that's really not our strength. We've been, you know, using counters and pulling action. It feels like we've just been running gap schemes, and we've been getting our asses kicked. But again, a lot of that had to do with what we've had out at the receiver position too. He talked about having Terry and Debo back and the impact. And he said, he admitted finally, yo, teams been playing us different, bro. Like they really been coming after us and attacking us in the run game. And they're going to have to really bad back a little bit because we got some real dogs out there now that bite. Not them ones that just making a whole bunch of noise. But we got some real dogs that bite now. So you could tell he was like, yeah, I'm finna get in Kansas City's ass. Pause. This week. Got some shit now. He talked about Chris Jones and how, you know, dominant he is and how he always shows up in the biggest, you know, points of the game. Facts. He talked about third down inconsistencies. And there's so many reasons, and he kind of like went through a couple, but he's not wrong. There's so many reasons I could give you for the third down inconsistencies. We're great at getting penalties on second down and short and producing a 3rd and long. We're great at finding ways to, you know, get into those 3rd and, you know, unreasonable situations, 3rd and 9. You don't want to be in 3rd and 9. And then somebody will have a breakdown in protection and give up a pressure. And now, you don't get to the, you know, the 2nd or 3rd read that might be open on the play. So he said it's been various different things. And then obviously the elephant in the room, you just haven't had any continuity. You haven't had guys in the lineup. You haven't had time on task in practice. So there's a lot of reasons for the third down inconsistencies. Hopefully you'll start to see that change now with Terry and Debo being back. Let's keep our fingers crossed that they stay back. And then you get Jaden in here, and then you can get some stability offensively. Maybe we'll start to see the third down percentage improve. Cosme's presence, he talked about Cosme, splashed a cold, hard dose of reality on us. Like, hey, he was solid, but he's got a ways to go. We liked some of the things we saw. There were some things there's some plays he would like to have back. You know, obviously it's going to take him a little while to get, you know, into the scheme of things, but all in all, it's good to have him out there. And, you know, the more he plays, the better he's going to be and the better this offensive line is going to be. He then talked about Mahomes' competitive stamina. And this is what the only reason I even talk about this is because this is where we want our guy, Jaden Daniels, to get to, and our team overall. He basically talked about Mahomes' competitive stamina. He said every year they get the toughest schedule. He said every year Mahomes has been a starter, they've never made it to anything less than the AFC Championship. He said that every year they get the best schedule, right, because they win their division. Every year they get a bunch of primetime games, a bunch of Monday night, a bunch of Sunday night, a bunch of Thursday night. And, you know, that's tough. We've seen how that schedule can affect your preparation, the attention that you get. And he said this guy raises his level of play, raises to the occasion every single time. And I think that is so true. And it's so tough. And people don't give him enough credit for that. And he said that is the thing that is most impressive about Mahomes is his competitive stamina. And he said week in, week out, year in, year out, this guy gets up for these games and plays at the highest of high levels. And that's the reason I bring it up, is because that's where we want Jaden Daniels and this organization to get to eventually. He then talked about all of the challenges that the injuries have presented him. And he's like, as a coordinator, you can't make any excuses. You got to use what you have. But he said, this is what we get paid to do. Like, these things are going to happen, and you just got to roll with the punches. And so he talked about all of the injuries and overcoming them as a play caller. He talked about Terry's absence and whether Terry could just kind of jump back into the offense seamlessly. And he said, look, Terry has been in this offense for 2 years now, so he should be able to just jump back in without any issues. Obviously he had started slow. He missed a lot of time in the summer, and he's like, that definitely impacted him. But, we feel like he should be able to jump in with no issues and be a really big factor in the offense. We know what Terry's capable of, and we look forward to having him back on the field. And then he talked about the consistency and hoping that everyone stays healthy, getting Jaden back, getting Terry and Debo back, getting Cosme back, getting this offense almost at full strength, and eventually that this thing can get to where they envisioned it being before the season started. And he said, or maybe you think that, the question that was posed to him, maybe you don't ever see this thing getting at that level. And he was like, well, I'm a glass half full guy, so I envision everybody coming back, this thing getting on track, and us getting this offense going the way that we thought. That's how I approach things. So he really feels like they have a chance to really get this offense back on track once they get all their stuff back. We're very close to having that happen. If these two can stay healthy, right? Sam Cosme's back. You get Noah Brown back. Again, we got to treat him like an entity that doesn't exist here. Maybe some other guys will step up in his absence, and maybe we won't miss him as much. And then obviously Jaden comes back healthy. This thing could pop, man. This is why I refuse to give up, which is why I've injected myself with hopium, because I think that this thing can be salvaged this season. But that's what Cliff had to say. We'll go behind enemy lines. Before we do that, though, we'll get a word from our sponsor, Sleeper. Come back on the other side and go behind enemy lines. Sleeper is the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all of your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat in the games in real time with other users, get the fastest scores, blazing fast news and alerts right at your fingertips. Play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports the way they were meant to, together. Download the #1 sports app today. Predict the hottest football stats like passing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy football skills. Use promo code LTN, and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Sleeper. So we're now behind enemy lines, and this is amazing. The line for this game. The Chiefs came into the game at 10.5-point favorites due to the Jaden Daniels injury and him being out. It is now a 12.5-point advantage for the Chiefs in this game via Vegas. I can't remember the last time we've been this big of an underdog on the road. I mean that's where we are, though, right? So and none of us would be shocked if we lost this game by 3 scores. So it's not like we're turning our nose up at it. Like, I can't believe they're disrespecting us. Like when they did it with the Lions in the playoffs last year, we felt disrespected. None of us feel disrespected by the 12.5 number, right? Anyhow, let's take a look at both teams as we go behind enemy lines. We'll start with the Commanders and see where they are from a statistical standpoint. Then we'll get to the Chiefs. 13th in total offense on the season, 345 yards per game. 9th in scoring offense at 25.8, basically 26 points per game. We can do so much better than that. Passing offense has struggled this year. You know all the reasons why. At 25th, just at 196 yards per game. Sacks allowed, 20th with 18, so tied for 20th with 18 sacks. Rushing offense, 2nd in the league, despite the struggles each of the last 2 weeks, still at just at under 150 yards per game, 2nd best in the NFL. I think we can see that take an uptick back up with the arrival of Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin. Third down offense, 24th in the league. You know, we've struggled all season long, 35.33%. That has to improve if we are to be better moving forward. Third, total defense, 27th in the league. We're getting cooked on defense. That's no secret. 364 yards per game given up. Total scoring defense, 21st in the league. We're giving up 24 points per game. Pass defense, 25th in the league at 238.3 yards per game. Again, we're getting torched in the pass game. Sacks, tied for 7th with 19. I expect that number to plummet now with no Dorrance Armstrong in the lineup. We'll see if we can generate some sort of pressure. Rush defense, 21st in the league at 126 yards per game given up. That number has continued to go down and down and down, lower and lower, as we've gotten worse and worse in the rush defense department as the weeks have gone on. We need to get back to stopping the run, or else it's going to be tough. Third down defense. Remember once upon a time we were number 1 in the league? Jeez Louise. That life comes at you fast. We're now 19th in the league on third down defense at 39.13%. So we're getting, increasingly worse on third downs. I mean, everything is getting worse defensively. Time of possession, 26th in the league at just a shade over 28 minutes. And turnover differential, we get worse and worse every week because we don't generate any, but yet we give them away. Now we're at -5, tied for 27th in the league. So that is all of the things that have this team at sub 500 right now as we go to the ops. And the Chiefs are now 5th in total offense at 371 yards per game. They scored 26, roughly 27 points per game, right around where we are this season. So they're 6th in scoring offense, 6th in passing offense at 247 yards per game. And that's going to continue to go up with all of their weapons now back in the saddle. Sacks allowed, tied for 8th. Mahomes is a wizard back there. So even when you get to him, he's a tough guy to get down on the ground. Rush offense, 12th in the league at 123 yards per game. I'm shocked that they have that many rush yards, but Mahomes is such a huge part of that. Third down offense, they're 6th. So you see the issue there. They're one of the better offenses in the league on third down. We're steadily becoming one of the worst defenses on third down. So that's where the rubber may meet the road in this game. Our inability to get off the field on third downs may kill us in this game as well. Total defense, they're going to come after us. They're going to play man coverage. They're going to be aggressive. Spags doesn't really give a shit who you are, what you do. He was going to come after us and play man coverage regardless. Can Marcus, can Terry, can Deebo, can some of the Jalen Lane, Luke, whomever's in the game, can they beat press man coverage? Can they beat a physical defense that's going to challenge you? Can we beat them over the top and make them pay for being overly aggressive, because they're going to be aggressive and challenge us? That's what Spags does. They give up 280 yards a game, good for 5th best in the league. They don't give up a ton of points, 17.7 points per game. A shutout against the Raiders last week will help your number exponentially, which is what happened there. But they're not giving up a ton of points regardless, as we've seen this season. Passing defense, 4th in the league at 270 yards per game given up through the air. We don't have 200 yards per game in the air. So that's, again, we're playing to their strength there. Sacks, they're tied for 14th with 15 on the season. Rush defense, they're 15th in the NFL. I think you can run the football on the Chiefs. I don't think the Chiefs have an elite run defense, but we got to get them to back up off of us. That means you got to take a shot early in this game just to show them, hey, you can't be coming down here being aggressive with your safety being all nosy and attacking the run game. I think you can run the football if you can keep them from being aggressive, attacking downhill. Third down defense, 7th in the league, and we suck on third down offense. So again, that's another advantage to them. Time of possession, as you can see, they're one of the best in the league. They're hoarding the football at 32 minutes and 17 seconds, good for 3rd best in the league. And we stink time of possession wise. So it kind of fits in like a puzzle. We get it for 28 minutes. They get it for 32. That's 60 minutes. If it goes that way in this game, we're probably going to lose, and it's not going to be close. Turnover differential, they're +5, which gets them top 5 in the league. We're -5, which gets us bottom 5 in the league. You see how that works? So, again, we're at a stark disadvantage. The Chiefs are clearly the better team. They statistically are better in just about every single category except our rush offense. Is the only thing that's better than their rush offense. Outside of that, they're better than everything. They're better at everything than us. We're at a disadvantage. So we can't turn it over. We have to sustain offense. We can't be going 3 and out. We can't, give the football back to their offense. We can't have our defense be on the field a ton. There's a lot of things that we have to do. We'll talk about those things on Monday. But there's a lot of things that we have to do in order to win. And if we don't, we have no shot. So let's get to the comment section, see what you guys have to say before we get out of here. Anthony Mayhew, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Anthony writes, Lou, my guy, just want to say how much I appreciate you. You always keep it real. I appreciate you, Anthony, man. Thank you so much for the support. And whether the team is winning or losing, I always feel better when you go live. I respect the hell out of you. Stay blessed. I appreciate you, Anthony, man. Thank you so much for the love, man. I try to be consistent no matter what. The highs, the lows, we've been through all of it together. So you always know you're going to find me regardless of what, right? Reedy Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Reedy Davis writes, LT, who is needed more? Cornerback, wide receiver, DN for next year. I really ain't ready to start talking next year, Reedy Davis. But right now, I would have to tell you that this team needs if they're going to play the defense that Joe Witt wants to play, if he's going to continue to be our defensive coordinator, then we need another cornerback. Because if you had someone opposite of Trey Amos right now, this defense would be exponentially better. It's the biggest deficiency because we got a sack against Dallas, and then the next play we gave up a 44-yard completion. Like, we can get pressure. We can get pressure, but we can't cover. Cornerback is our biggest need. I'd love to go get an edge rusher, and yes, we could use another receiver, absolutely. But you just give us our stuff with Jaden, I think we would be fine offensively. It's the defense right now, and it's the cornerback position that I think is the biggest glaring need on this team. That's just me. If you want to play the defense the way we're playing it, you need another corner. Silver Fox, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Silver Fox. Ford writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Silver Fox? Love hearing that McGee and Medrano will be playing. I think with this move, you'll see Frankie playing more as a DN pass rusher. Refreshing. I swear we've been kind of like pushing that narrative for the last 2 weeks, bare minimum. Put Frankie at DN, bro. Let's get the young fellas on the field a little bit. Let's make it shake. Someone had to come in there and shake things up. It is refreshing. Again, we don't know if it's going to work, but it beats the alternative, right? It beats the alternative, Silver Fox. Hell yeah. Mark David, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, Maury smacking Lake Taylor tonight. You want to kick a man when he's down? It's bad enough. My favorite football team is getting their teeth kicked in. My baseball team was ass this year. My favorite basketball team did win on opening night for them, but we got a myriad of injuries. The season hasn't really even gotten started for real yet. And I've already got 4 guys that are going to be out at least a month. And now you want to kick me while I'm down? How dare you? I thought we were friends, Mark. All seriousness, no, all jokes aside. Go Titans. Go Titans. F the Commodores. Thank you for the super chat, Mark David. Greatly appreciate you. That is going to do it for me. Your man, Louie T. Got one here from Corin Smith. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Corin writes, is this a desperate or necessary move for both? It probably is both, honestly. It feels necessary because you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. And it is a bit desperate because you're at the point of your season where you're getting desperate. You have to start trying things. You got to start pressing buttons. You don't know what these buttons are going to do, but you got to start pressing some buttons. You can't just sit here and stare at the screen and expect change. You got to start pressing some shit and hope that you get some results. So it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. But they say necessity is the mother of invention, right? That's what they say. So maybe being in a very desperate, needy state might ultimately birth something for this defense that they didn't conjure up themselves, that they were just kind of forced into, and look what they stumbled upon. That's all we can hope. But anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Enjoy your weekend. I've got content coming out for you guys over the weekend. And I'll be back on Sunday night. I'll be out of the office the entire weekend, though. And then we'll reconvene on Monday, and we'll talk about the things that it'll take for this team to win on Monday night. Until then, I'm your man Louie T, signing off. You guys have a good one. Take care. Peace.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30.